What's going on, everybody? It's Blighters, and we're back on the Dragonflight beta. Today we're going to do something a little different. It's a video I didn't want to do, but we're here. So we're going to talk about Guardian Druid. Now, for those of you who don't know, which is probably the majority of you, I've been playing my Druid since Cataclysm. Dragon Soul was when I started tanking. Specifically, before that I played Feral in PvP. So I'd like to say I have a lot of experience as a Guardian Druid. And I'm not happy right now. I feel like we've been neglected and forgot about since they removed Mark of Ursol in Legion. I know it's a long time, but that's how I feel, right? So let's get into the tree. So I'm not going to speak on the Druid tree because the Druid tree is a whole nother video in itself. So we're just going to talk about the Guardian Druid one. These are the talents that I've been running in the majority of the videos you guys have been seeing. Actually, in all of the videos you guys have been seeing. I don't deviate much in dungeons. I feel like this is probably somewhat near the best build. There are a few dungeons where you could probably go a little bit, maybe a little bit more Maul-centric. Even though I hate Maul, but that's another story. So my problems with the tree. Pathing. Pathing is... it's not good. The Moonfire talents used to be over here. They used to be really easy to get to, and you can kind of branch out from there. Then they broke them up into two different sections. They put other things in front of it. The use of 2-point nodes right here for reinvigoration and survival of the fittest, I think, are bad. Survival of the fittest, we have to put 2 points into it to get a nerfed version than what we have on live, because on live it's 33%. On beta, right as of right now, 2 points will get you 30%, so it's a 3% nerf, right? They put Blood Frenzy, which has been a staple talent for Guardian Druids for our Rage generation, down at the bottom of our tree, along with Soul of the Forest. After the Wildfire, I think something this far down in the tree should do a little bit more than 8.7k healing for every 200 Rage, right? If you want something down this far in the tree, I don't know, make it every 40 rage spent for that little bit of healing, or increase the healing. Like, this talent is basically dead on arrival, right? Same with Guardian of Elune. Like, I've never really liked Guardian of Elune, but it's there. Sometimes it's useful. Rage is a sleeper. I mean, it was a fan favorite in Legion. But the problem with this one is they split it up from your Embrace the Nightmare node in our artifact tree, if you remember that, which is the Embrace the Nightmare node is our Legacy of the Sleeper legendary on live right now. So you had both, like Rage of Sleeper did both of those. It reflected damage, but it also increased damage and gave you Leech by 25% and made you immune to knockbacks. This one is just the base Rage of Sleeper. I don't think that warrants a capstone node. Maybe that's just me. I never really liked the Incarn build, right? I don't like the 3-minute, right, build where you pull around your 3-minute cooldown, you're like invincible for 30 seconds, and then you waddle through the dungeon until you can get your cooldown back. Was never really a fan of that. So when I saw the nerf to this, I was like, oof, maybe that's a good thing. Then I won't have to play the Incarn build. But then, like, what other build do you really play at that point, right? Because Bear is just your 3-minute build is your strongest build. I do have a sneaking suspicion they did this because they added Maul to it, and Maul with 75% in single target, it was probably too strong at some later point in the expansion. Not really right now. Though I haven't tried the being honest, I haven't tried the Maul build in raid testing because I've been raid testing on what I'm actually playing in my raid for my raid team, which is Blood DK. Bear will be in my off time, even though it's my main, but I don't want to hold my guild back playing a Guardian Druid when I could play a better tank. So that way progression is easier. I also don't think... What was I going to go to? This. So the Incarnation Guardian of Ursoc, every 20 raids reduces it by 1 second. I think that needs to be increased, the 1 second part. It's not enough of a CDR to feel much of it. You can probably get Incarn down to close to 2 minutes, somewhere around like 2:10 or something like that. I think it needs, you'd want it for it to be like useful or like impactful, you'd want it like 2 minutes, because that lines up with most DPS CDs, and then you can continue pulling and getting through the dungeon faster, because after all, that's what Mythic Plus is. It's get through the dungeon as fast as possible. Where are we going else? So, infected wounds. Why is this a talent? Right? Nobody's gonna take this. This is dead. The slow is not like, it's on Mangle and Maul, right? Though you will use Mangle more in AoE now with the 4 set, but honestly, this is just dead. So isn't like Ursoc's Endurance, it's a 2-point node for 2 seconds. You get 2 more seconds on Barkskin and Iron Fur for 2 talent points. Man. Front of the pack? Like, really? That's a talent? Ooh. Persistence, right? So, reduces the cooldown of frenzied regeneration by 100%, and the cost of Iron Fur by 50%. Seems pretty good, right? But usually, when you go the Incarn build, you're immortal. So maybe this might see some use, where like you can just hit frenzy regen whenever inside of your Incarn, because you're not going to be immortal anymore, I'm assuming. I think Mythic Plus opens up again this weekend, so I can do more testing. I'll probably have some more videos for that. But as of right now, I can't really test in a Mythic Plus because you don't take that much damage in Heroics and Mythics for me to even test any of this. So I got to get on some 15s and whatnot. So yeah, so those are my problems with it. Also, the survival instincts. Like, why do I have to spend 2 points to get 2 charges? Just put it up here, right? We have, out of all the tanks, I believe we have the most dead end nodes, right? With having 6. I think the next one is Monk. They have like 2 or 3, right? But to be fair, our tree hasn't been really, there's been no real iteration on our tree. The same with our class tree, right? The only 2 trees that haven't had a real deep dive into them. So you would expect a bunch of dead end nodes, bunch of 2-point talents, where I don't think there needs to be 2-point talents. Pathing is not really good, right? There should be more. You should be able to get down to the middle with maybe these, maybe come across a bit more, so you can make more choice in your builds, instead of just there's a straight line down and that's kind of where you're going. You know what I mean? This video is getting pretty ranty, but it's going to be, because I feel so bad, right, about my class. So Blood Frenzy, I think, should be up here near the top of the tree. Our Signs Adept, this should just be a passive that we get for picking Guardian, right? It shouldn't be a talent point. This helps with rage generation, especially at lower levels, should be near the top of the tree. This they need to add the Embrace the Nightmare part back to Rage of the Sleeper. Then it's more appealing as a capstone. Um, I don't think Rend and Tear and Untamed Savagery is a good capstone either. I think they should be moved up into the tree somewhere. Maybe, I don't know what you would really put here though. Actually, no, that's a lie. I want Adaptive Swarm in our tree. I'm going to take this time to talk about Adaptive Swarm. We're the only Druid spec without Adaptive Swarm, without access to Adaptive Swarm. Currently on live, you can play Necro Bear, and now you don't have a hard-hitting dot like the Feral counterpart to it, where they play like the beekeeping build, but your Adaptive Swarm will do roughly about 2 to 2.5, somewhere around there, million healing over the course of a dungeon, right? Depending on the length of the dungeon. If you're good at keeping it, if you're good at upkeeping it, which is a lot of overhealing, like a lot of healing, right? Now, fast forward to Dragonflight, with Moonfire hitting as hard as it does, we do have a hard hitting dot. So Adaptive Swarm, with all the Moonfire talents, gives you an interesting kind of play style to Guardian Druid that we haven't seen before, right? Where you're kind of the dot tank and you're like the spread cleave, you're like managing your Adaptive Swarm on every, like your whole party, or as many people as has it on it. Plus you're managing like Moonfire. I think with that build you would have to add Sunfire to Ursine Adept, so that way you had another dot. So now you're managing Sunfire, Moonfire, Thrash, and Adaptive Swarm, and you're kind of playing that kind of play style where you're like the dot tank. I think that gives Guardian an interesting like niche, an interesting play style that the other tanks don't have, and it gives it something unique, right? Now you can still keep the Thrash Moonfire, the Thrash and Maul build in here, while giving us like Adaptive Swarm and Unbridled Swarm somewhere in the tree, so that way we can have that play style. Convoke on Bear, like, I think this should just be Adaptive Swarm. Convoke isn't really good for Guardian Druid, like, at all. Like, it's fine. It was good on, like, Kael'thas, right? Because of the way the way you convoked and Naya gave you mastery, and the way mastery interacts with our spell power, it was really good. But as I lost my train of thought there, sorry. In Dragonflight, like, we don't have Naya, right? So it's not going to do that much healing. And we don't have the conduit, right? That increased our healing and damage. So it's not going to do much. It's just going to be a button. You're going to see yourself flail around for like 8 to 16, well, 4 to 16 seconds or something. You can see yourself flail around, and then you're going to be like, okay, sure. It'll throw some heals out. It might save some people every now and then, but I don't think it's good enough to be near the bottom of the tree on Guardian Druid. I think if you were to put Adaptive Swarm and Unbridled Swarm, it would be a much better choice and give Bear a very interesting playstyle. But that is my stance on Adaptive Swarm, and that's why I champion that ability. Because if you have not played it on live and you currently playing a Guardian Druid, do it. Just go do it. You will have a lot of fun trying to keep up Adaptive Swarm on your party while doing damage. It also does about 8 to 12% of your damage, because it's not as bad as people think it is. I would want them to make Unbridled Swarm 100% chance to jump, not 60, but that's neither here nor there. So that's kind of what I would do with the Guardian tree, right? I'd like remove infected wounds would be gone. Ursock's Endurance would be gone. You can keep the mall stuff in the mall build if you really want to try to push mall. That's fine. Like, mall's not interesting. Maybe take it off the GCD, or maybe make it proc on auto attacks like Revenge does for warriors. Then I might be more interested in mall. But as it stands right now, like, I've never really been interested in mall, and I've wanted them to either do something interesting with it or delete it. There's a lot of talk on the forums, the feedback forums, about mall being better than people think it is. But honestly, if you just look at Tooth and Claw, right, your auto attacks have a 20% chance to proc to empower your next mall, stacking up to 2 times. You auto attack roughly every 3 seconds, right? So you have a 20% chance roughly every 3 seconds to proc an empowered mall. Now, it's not anything to scoff at when it happens, but how often is it actually going to happen during a fight? Something you have to think about, right? You can't just say, oh, this is always going to be up all the time, because it's not, right? And then you also have to make sure that you mangle before you maul, right? Or you're mangling 3 times and you have this vicious cycle buff stacked up for your maul. But if everything lines up perfectly, sure, you can hit with a huge maul and have an absorb shield for 30% of that. But is that better than just pressing Iron Fur? Most of the time, no. In some very small cases where you take nothing but magic damage, sure. But I don't know. Adaptive Swarm. That's all I gotta say. Give us Adaptive Swarm. Add Legacy of the Sleeper to this, or the other part, Embrace the Nightmare. Make this the full Rage of the Sleeper. Do something with this node. I actually didn't even talk about Dream Scenarios, right? Dream Scenarios is something most people are never going to take because it shares a node with Ursox Fury, which is probably another reason why they nerfed Ursox Fury, because they want people to take this. Because real quick, we'll hop over to the Druid tree because the Protector of the Pack. But it's just not strong enough. It's just not strong enough, in my opinion. Right? You're just going to be instant. They want you to instant regrowth yourself every now and then. Like, man, I don't know. I think I've ranted for too long. I thank you guys for hanging out with me and talking a little bit. Let me know in the comments, like, what you think you would do with Guardian Druid, or maybe you have some things that I didn't think of. Maybe you're a fan of the mall build. I don't know. Just let me know. We'll create a conversation down there, and then I hope to see you in my next one. Have a good day.